We're more than halfway through tonight's Democratic primary debate in Los Angeles. So far, the candidates have covered a wide range of topics, including impeachment, climate change, the economy, and fundraising. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren and South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg went after each other over how they raise money for their campaigns. Take a listen.
The mayor just recently had a fundraiser that was held in a wine cave full of crystals and served $900 a bottle wine. Think about who comes to that. He had promised that every fundraiser he would do would be open door, but this one was closed door. We made the decision many years ago that rich people in smoke-filled rooms would not pick the next president of the United States. Billionaires in wine caves should not pick the next president of the United States.
If I pledged never to be in the company of a progressive Democratic donor, I couldn't be up here. Senator, your net worth is 100 times mine. Now, supposing that you went home feeling the holiday spirit, I know this isn't likely, but stay with me, and decided to go on to PeteForAmerica.com and give the maximum allowable by law, $2,800. Would that pollute my campaign because it came from a wealthy person? No, I would be glad to have that support. We need the support from everybody who is committed to helping us defeat Donald Trump.
All right, let's bring in Lynda Tran from the Spin Room and Leslie Sanchez and Antjuan Seawright on set in New York. Lynda is a CBSN political contributor and Democratic strategist. Leslie is a CBS News political contributor and Republican strategist. Antjuan is a CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist. Antjuan, the gloves are off. This is pretty much as heated as we saw in this debate. What did you make of that exchange and the sharp contrast here, right, that seems to be really a very almost personal kind of point here for Senator Elizabeth Warren and Mayor Pete Buttigieg?
First of all, there's nothing wrong with a little heated fellowship. It happens.
Okay, is that what you call that? Okay.
It happens. But I think the mayor has a point. I think sometimes as Democrats, we get too cute and trying to play into certain things, thinking that's going to change the narrative about who ends up voting for us in the end. At the end of the day, we couch ourselves as the big tent party. That means we should embrace anyone. Now, I'm not talking about the obvious things that are obvious red flags, but so what if someone has done well for themselves and they want to give us money or they want to host an event? I'm not going to turn them away. They didn't do it illegally. It's not foreign money. Why not embrace them? I don't think people should apologize for having people who want to donate them. Obviously, we're going to need those resources in order to compete with Leslie's money machine next year in the fall. I don't think we should get ourselves jammed into a box saying we should turn our back to certain people because they have resources.
So, Lynda, let me get your take on that exchange first of all, and then I want to ask you about another clip.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, look, Elizabeth Warren is just being on brand, right? She has been railing against billionaires. She's been railing against money in politics for as long as people who have seen her in the public eye can remember. And so it's just consistent with where she has been. And we've seen both the senator and the mayor exchange a lot of jabs on the campaign trail in recent weeks on explicitly this issue. Mayor Pete's point is a valid one. We're in a state right now where you're basically saying you've got the people on the far left who have set certain litmus tests for who they believe should be a nominee for president. And Mayor Pete is saying that we need to be representing everyone, we need to be inclusive, and we need to not be offering purity tests at a moment when the country is in such dire straits under the leadership of Donald Trump. They're both, I think, delivering very strong messages, and their bases will respond to them.
So Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar used that wine cave imagery to make an argument for campaign finance reform. Here's that clip.
I have never even been to a wine cave. I've been to the wind cave in South Dakota, which I suggest you go to. So what is making a case for progress about? That is what unites us up here instead of what divides us, which is campaign finance reform. That means passing a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. It means making the first bill we pass when I am president will be H.R. 1, which is the ethics reform passed in the House, which is currently sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, along with 400 bills.
All right. So on this wine cave, I know, Antjuan, you have something to say about that? I personally never heard of a wine cave before.
I'm going to give my friend Lynda some advice. Wine cave in
There's a picture of it.
Wine cave in South Carolina means liquor cabinet, just for the record. I just want to know for the record. That's what that means.
Look like that?
In South Carolina it means liquor cabinet. Just in case anyone was wondering who's never been to a wine cave.
Okay. All right. You're like expanding the definition of what I had in my mind. All right. So, Lynda, back on the substance. Let me ask you about Senator Klobuchar's answer there. Is what she laid out there, that position, one that the other candidates on stage would support?
Well, I think that the other candidates in general would say at a 30,000-foot level that campaign finance reform is something that we ought to be moving towards. You know, there are folks on that stage who have at various points grappled with the idea of public financing, those kinds of ideas over the courses of their career. So I don't think that she would get a lot of folks pushing back on her. That said, she's talking about what to many viewers at home would view as a rather nuanced policy argument, whereas with Elizabeth Warren and Mayor Pete, it's just, I think, much more understandable when you're talking about billionaires putting money in and recipients who are standing there on stage. I mean, I think it's just a much more clear thing. When campaign finance reform, when you start to dig into all of that, you're talking about campaign limits, you're talking about organizations being able to raise unlimited funds in order to support a candidate from the outside. And I have to wonder how many people back home actually understood what she was even talking about.
All right. Well, Leslie, let me ask you, if you are watching this from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue right now, are you seeing things that, especially as these candidates now really begin to go after each other, that could perhaps be useful? Because it's notable, at least I have to check in the last 5 minutes, I don't think we've seen the president tweet yet, have we?
It's so good. There's so much to offer in this debate. And the hypocrisy is probably the best part. They're bumping up against this idea of campaign finance or who's funding the campaigns when you have high net worth individuals standing on the stage trying to say that it's okay, in one sense, making an argument, it's okay that anybody wants to write a big check to my campaign. I openly welcome it. And on the other side is kind of the question of whether, who are we? Because traditionally, Democrats were out here talking about we're the party of small net worth, small donors. I mean, we only heard one time talking about small donors. Right. If you think about it, that used to be the talking point of the Democratic campaign, in contrast to Republicans, who are these big, fat cats sitting in a room. Now there's wine
with
caves.
Bundlers
I know, now we got to Google wine cave because I've never been to a wine cave.
Liquor cabinet.
I'm Republican. I don't have a liquor cabinet. So, I missed the boat on that one.
Me too. Okay.
So that's cool. We're not cool, whatever.
But the point is, we don't really have
it's
this
always
kind of
like, it's hysterical because Republicans are always like the ones lambasted for all these big,
and
high
now
debt.
you're on the Democratic
now
side.
The Democrats are saying, no, I want to take the money.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a purity test.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying. So pick your choice. And again, on that part, it's quite interesting.
What are Democrats about?
What are Democrats about? But if I can, so you see that contrast. You see it's a fiery debate. You're also hearing these kind of very progressive ideas with no idea how you're going to pay for them, which is what's consistent with the other debates. But again, we all know I'm a fangirl of Amy Klobuchar. I am.
Yeah.
We all know that that's like a legitimate. I think she's making some extremely strong, cogent points, substantive, talking about how to address everything from inclusion to political leadership. And most important thing I heard from her say, when she said she could win Minnesota, a state that the president almost won by 2 points, that's the part that Republicans stopped at. That's the part that Republicans say she knows what she's talking about. And her political calculation is exactly right. And then the last part I'll end with is, and you know who knows that's right? Joe Biden. He's a ghost up there. Casper, haven't even heard from him, seen him. He's very quiet on the stage and letting the others kind of take the hits.
Antjuan's going to take issue with that.
I think Joe Biden is having a hell of a night. In fact, I think this is the most packaged and well put together Joe Biden I've seen throughout every debate we've had to this point. And yes, he may not be making points that will give him gold stars on political report cards. However, he's been very consistent. He's been very measured in his response. He's been very captured in the moment as he responds to the question. And quite frankly, I think he's speaking directly to living room rooms and kitchen tables all across this country who are watching this debate. And I think that's the Joe Biden that most people have been looking for. So someone has really blown a breath of life into Joe Biden, has reined him into what's important. I commend him for that. Now, with that being said, you won't get any debate out of me about the fact that Amy Klobuchar is putting some real points on the board tonight. She is speaking to what I think some of the hardcore concerns and issues are of everyday Americans. Forget about this Democratic primary, but independent thinkers and independent voters alike. And that is what people are looking for when they talk about electability. So I think those two really are putting points on the political scoreboard tonight.
All right, very quickly, Lynda, in the 20 seconds we have left here, what are you looking for now with an hour left in the debate that you haven't heard yet?
I want to hear people talking about health care, honestly. I want to know what the candidates that are on stage are going to do moving forward.
All right, Lynda Tran, Leslie Sanchez, and Antjuan Seawright, thank you all very much.